Mike Bond here at Bellator 222 Media Day, standing next to Chael Sonnen, who co-headlines this card against Lyoto Machida, your 15th career fight against a former world champion of a major organization.
Headlines? What kind of an expression is that? What does that mean?
The co-main event.
Excuse me, the main event. Rory is the encore. I am the main event.
I like that one. I haven't heard that one from you before.
Yes, no, I'm being real with you. Rory McDonald is the encore. He should call himself the encore.
You were originally at the top of the bill.
Look at him, sitting in the middle. The king sits on the end. Huh? Look at this. This was my seat. I got up from it to do this interview because you asked me to, and you dressed so nicely for it, I thought I should do it your way.
True story. You were originally the encore, and then they put you in the main event. What happened there?
Yes. You just used my... It's pretty good, Mike, I must tell you. Okay, listen, here's what happened. They are fighting for the World Championship. In fairness, the World Championship goes last. That's just the fair way to do it.
Unless you're Horiguchi and Caldwell, then you go first.
Are they opening the show? I've actually always wondered where they've been. I assumed it was me and Machida, then who you just said, versus Caldwell. What's his
Horiguchi.
Nobody knows for sure, but that somebody is taking on Caldwell, and then the encore. And then I found, no, those guys fine, and then it's been a little bit of a mess. Eventually they will call my name and I'll make that walk.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
And as I tried to say, 15th former world champion of a major organization you're fighting. Just talk about fighting that level of high-level competition over and over and over and over. That's what you want? I know that, right?
Yeah. Well, I must tell you, I'll fight any of them. No, I wouldn't mind an easy fight or a middle fight. Anybody that wanted to fight me, I will go fight. And I had guys in my career. Jeremy Horn comes to mind. But they gave me opportunities when they didn't have to. Gave me opportunities when I was begging for it, and they were up here and I was down here. And I appreciate those guys, and I will hand that back anytime. And if I can't defend myself and they can get over on me, then good for them. That's the business. But as far as taking on Machida or taking on champions, I mean, yeah, that's the way it seems to go. I've had a hard schedule, no way about it. If you look at my resume, it's been a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. And where does Machida fit in, do you think, in terms of the most difficult opponents?
Yeah, so I'd have to tell you that after this fight, but looking at it going in from, like, say, an intimidation factor, he's right up there. Just because he's so weird, I don't have anybody in Portland that does what he does. We don't hold his stand. We don't do karate. I mean, I thought, in my mind, we settled this debate of wrestlers versus karate guys in 1993. That's what I thought happened, but somehow he stuck around, and that's a credit to him. That's not meant as an insult, but somehow he's found a way to make a sport that sucks effective, in truth.
How has his style evolved, do you think? Because it seemed like there was a point there, end of his title reign, a few losses after, maybe he was getting figured out a little bit, then he dropped to middleweight, got some new success there. Like, what version is he now? Like, is he someone that you fully kind of know what to expect, or is it still a lot of mystery there?
I think I know what to expect a lot more than some of the guys that had to fight him early on, just because there's more footage. I don't totally know how to deal with it. I mean, it is unique. I'll only get one crack at this thing. I worked really hard. I trained really hard. But as far as preparing with somebody that does what he does, that just simply didn't happen for me. And I think he's done a very good job. People ask me where he's at in his career. I'll remind you, in his last fight, he beat the former world champion. So had he had that fight 6 months prior, he'd be the current world champion. So, I mean, I think he's right up there in skills.
Yeah, and the reason you keep wanting these big fights, too, is because it takes you in the trajectory of the title, right, which is your ultimate goal. Does this one puts you on the doorstep, right?
Yeah, this is said to be the #1 contenders fight, but it puts me in a really weird spot. Like, generally, you would be chasing the champion. I mean, that is the general rule of the business. That's the general rule in life, in any business. Ryan Bader sucks. Ryan Bader can't draw. People don't know who Ryan Bader is. So Ryan Bader, as the champion, has to beg me to come in and fight. The rules are totally reversed. He's got to beg me to be the #1 contender. I don't like Ryan Bader. I've got a history with Ryan Bader. I want to be champion. I don't know if I want to do Ryan Bader that favor. And I've given him the opportunity to win me over. I've never felt he called me out the right way. He never affected my ego. And I never felt he shined up my wheels enough to make me then come and do something for him. I think he's playing his cards wrong. I think he needs to be a little nicer to Old Chael, quite frankly, or he needs to be a little bit meaner to Old Chael. But he seems to be sitting in the middle of the road, which is why in his meager little career, a fight with me would be five times what anything he's ever done before. So until I like Ryan Bader a little bit more, which I really don't see happening, I'm not giving him the opportunity to fight me, even though he's champion. How do you like that?
Interesting. So I could maybe agree with the part. Maybe he's not the biggest draw, doesn't have the biggest name, but 2-division champion. Why does he suck? Yeah,
well, skill-wise, I think he does a fine job. I think he's got a couple of tricks. I think as a competitor, he is coming further and further. I also acknowledge his heavyweight championship. I was in that tournament. I mean, one of the deals going into the tournament was whoever walks out of this, there's no politics here. It's a straight line bracket. So I will give him his due on that. But I mean, look, he's got to do his part. if he wants to get on a docket with me, he has to do his part. And just being the champion and bringing that to the table, that's a lot. Because I want that championship. I mean, that's a lot. But he's not in the driver's seat. And he's going to have to do something to get my interest.
And you mentioned the championship, and I read that really great piece you did on ESPN.com, and you were reiterating the goal. You're going to keep going until you accomplish that goal and make that promise to your father. Is that a lot of pressure to put on yourself? I mean, that seems like something, a lot of weight that you're putting on yourself there to accomplish that goal.
Yeah, man, it's I don't really know how that came out. And at this point, I almost regret it. I wish I would have kept that a personal motivation for myself. But yeah, it is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and if if it didn't work out for you, would that really hurt you at the end of the day, or can you feel content with doing what you've done?
Oh no. I'll either win the championship or I will be a failure. Yeah, I believe that wholeheartedly. I was told when I was 17 years old by Matt Lindland, and we were both on wrestling quests at that time, but he told me that you cannot retire unless you win a world championship. You can only quit, and I don't want to be a quitter.
Interesting. And we've seen, speaking of retirement, seeing a lot of notable fighters walk away recently. King Mo, Alexander Gustafsson, list goes on and on. Why is this just a weird? Is this just a weird coincidence kind of thing? Timing lineup.
That hurt for me. That hurt for me to see King Mo walk away. I had no idea. I talked to Mo all the time. He never even alluded to that. Plus, I think he's fighting very well. Quite frankly, I don't love his strategy at all times, but as far as his skills go, I watch King Mo, and I'm so impressed with him. I just think he's such a good fighter, good ambassador for the sport, great guy to be around. But privately, his body was hurting. He was having some injuries. He was having to then go into fights injured. He wasn't being able to train the way he wanted to. He retired. But yeah, that was sad for me.
And last thing, we were talking to
Gus too. Quite frankly, Gus too. I didn't see the Gus one coming. I don't have the personal relationship with Gus that I do with Mo, but I'm a big fan. And I was watching. I thought he looked great. I thought Gus looked absolutely great. He got pinned down in one bad position. It was the same position that John Jones put him in. I thought, well, Gus, let's just work on that position. The rest of your ski look great. I disagree with him. I don't think it's time for him to retire.
Interesting. And last thing, we were talking to Machida earlier, and he said he's been surprised at the lack of talk from you leading up to this fight. I know you say you don't talk trash, you talk truth. So give us the truth about Lyoto Machida. And if it's kind, it's kind. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah, and that's the way it is. I've never sold fights. I've never talked trash. In my opinion, I mean, I have some real feelings. Some of them maybe just carried over to Ryan Bader a moment ago. But I don't make those things up. Ryan Bader knows what he knows what this is about. He's known about this for a number of years, and he knew eventually this was going to come out publicly. So. As far as Machida goes, he seems like a really nice guy. I met his wife. She seems like a really nice person. I met his kids, two beautiful children. He just seems like a great dude.
How do you beat him?
I got to crowd him. I got to get my hands on him. I don't want to deal in that range. I don't want to deal with that karate stuff. I'm gonna taunt him early on, trying to get him to throw a kick. I think at some point he has to throw it. Even if I do an interview like this, and I think he has to do it. He's been doing it since he was 8 years old. I do not think he can control himself. And when he throws a kick like everybody before him, I will run his ass down, and he will never get up.
Perfect. Well, Chael, I really appreciate the time as always.
This isn't quite. Some guys just say that. Some guys say that because it's a polite, but you mean it. I can tell you mean it. Thank you for that.
It's not quite as extravagant. We did the big Rolling Stone interview a few years ago. We did an arm wrestle. We did last year on the Viacom balcony there out in Times Square. It's not quite as extravagant, but it's always good to talk to you.
You dressed even nicer, huh?
It's true.
This is something.
I had to lift it up a little bit.
No, your mother's watching this, and she's very proud right now. Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Chael. Appreciate it.
Cool. Appreciate you. Thanks, Mike.